Okay guys, welcome to question 2. So what do we have here? So a estate agent is studying the cost of office space in London. He takes a random sample of 90 offices and calculates the cost, X pound per square foot. His results are given in the table below. So first things first, for every type of question, we should always record the end value of n. So we can say here that we have a total sample size of 90. Or, according to this table, a total frequency of 90. So you could use both here. Okay, so they're both the same. All right, now you're given some more data. You're given the midpoint value of y, so they've already done the midpoint for us, which is nice of them. And they've already gone ahead and calculated the sum of f times y squared. So they calculated y squared here and just multiply them across and found the sum of it. This would be useful for calculating standard deviation and various stuff. Anyway, back to the problem. Now, a histogram is drawn for these data, and the bar is representing between 50 to 60 is 2 centimeters wide and 8 centimeters high. Calculate the width and height of the bar representing 20 to 40. So my advice for every histogram-based question, I would just draw a little sketch on the side and just label the x-axis the class width, representing in this case the cost, and the vertical and the y-axis the frequency density. This represents the height in this sense, yeah? And then if you think about the area or the bar inside, this will be the frequency. So we can think of it like an area of a rectangle. We can say that the class width base times height equals area, or class width times frequency density is frequency. So this formula I always relate when I do histogram questions. I recommend you put this down. This is very useful. Now, for example, y. If we look at the cost, let's go ahead and evaluate the class widths, yeah? What do we have here? So we have a class width of 20. Here we have a class width of 5. So just find the differences. Oh my god, I'm so slow. 5, 10, got my 5 so ugly, and 20. So now, and then we just make an extra column, call it frequency density. Now, using this formula, let's calculate the frequency densities of all of them, why not? So we could say first things first, frequency density equals, using the formula, it will just be frequency over class width. So this is just simply frequency over class width. So in your calculator, the first one will be 12 over 20. Keep as a decimal, yeah? Get 0.6, 13 over 5, 2.6, and so on. So keep doing this until you get all the relevant results, yeah? 8, I think it's 0.4, yep. Okay, now that's useful. So the whole point of this is that these are just units, right? And we're given some information in centimeters. So I always use ratios now to figure this out. This is such a useful method. We compare units to centimeters. So what do? So we can say that for every, let's have a look. All right, so let's just discuss the 50 to 60 bar, yeah? We can say for the 50 to 60 bar, let's discuss firstly the frequency density, the height, yeah? This is the frequency density. We can say that for every 3.2 units of height, this is equivalent to a height of 8 centimeters. So first thing first, just find what 1 unit is divided by 3.2. It will just be 8 over 3.2, which is 2.5. So every 1 unit is 2.5 centimeters of height. Meaning, if we're going to calculate now the 20 to 40 region, which is 0.6, so that means 0.6 units times that by 0.6, and you should get 1.5. Done. So 1.5 centimeters represents the height. As for the width now, let me change to red. We do the same thing and for width. So we got units to centimeter. So according to the 50 to 60, for every, where's the width? Okay, the width is the class width here. So for every width is 10. 10 units represent, according to the data, 2 centimeters. So it's quite easy. So for 1 unit, this is going to be divided by 10, 0.2 centimeters. Meaning, for what we want for the 20 to 40 region, for 20 units, times it by 20 and you get 4 centimeters. And that's it. The width is 4. Easy. That's how you do this kind of question. Okay, here we go again. So looking at this worked example, we're going to look at part B. So that's going to be use linear interpolation to estimate the median cost. Now, firstly, what is the median? The median is actually the middle person or middle value of the data set. First things first, we look at the frequency and we know straight away that the total should be 90. It's technically given. And we know that the median lies somewhere in the middle. So it should be the 45th, or you can also say n plus 1, 46th person. Either way, you'll get the same result or about the same result. So how do we do this? To use interpolation, firstly, we just draw a nice line all the way across. And first thing, I'll label the median here. Now, what do we put in all these values? Well, let's look at the table for a second. We want to firstly find where the middle person lies. So let's count the frequency and find where the 45th person is. So at the frequency, we've got 12 here. Use cumulative frequency, so add 13 more, there'll be 25 up to this point. Add another 25, there'll be 50. So up to this point, the median should lie somewhere in this interval. So we can instantly say that the median is somewhere between 45 and 50. Now, for the bottom values, this is just the position. So the median's, of course, the 45th or 46th position. I'll use 45 for this example. You can use 46 too. And for the lower and upper bound, we can say that he must lie between the 25th person here and the 50th. Okay, now we've done everything. So now all we do is, interpolate. So to do this, we look at the top and lower values and we just find proportions. For example, we can say that the difference between the median 45 is proportional to the difference between the first two positions. So let's say that. We can say m minus 45 is proportional to 45 take away 25, yep. And we can say this is equal to, and we pick another range. We can say that 50 take away 45 is proportional to 50 take away 25. So this line could be the kind of divisor, yeah? So 50 minus 45 is directly proportional to 50 minus 25. You could do this in various ways. You could do upside down, you could take long waves, you could do m take away 50. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, you'll get the same value because this is all in direct proportion. Now, let's go ahead and resolve this, yeah? So resolving this one, you get m45 over 20 equals 5 over 25. So times 20 across and add 5. Let's see what we get, yeah? 25 times 20, add 45. And I got exactly 49. So m equals 49. So within this group, the total cost for him, the median cost was £49. You can probably get other similar answers like £49.10 or £49.11, but all these answers will guarantee you 2 marks. Okay, here we go. Parts C and D. Now here we need to estimate the mean and the standard deviation for this data. Now, I've already gone ahead and put the n is 90 as usual, and now I've added the sum of fi. And the way this is calculated is that we first need to multiply the frequency with the midpoint y, so f times y, and then just add them all up. So multiply all of these and then add them up all together. You should get this result. Now, let's go ahead and actually solve this problem. So to calculate the mean, which is quite straightforward, it's just the sum of fy, the total you have, over the number, which is 90. And this will just give you 4420 over 90. Should give you exactly, well, I'll keep it to a decimal, 49.11 recurring, or you can leave as a fraction. So that's the mean cost. So the mean cost, actually, you know, we should put in pounds. So the mean cost is £49.10. As for the standard deviation, well, I usually use this relationship. I always use the variance relationship. That is the mean, or the second moment minus the mean squared. This is always the best thing, and then you just square root this. So this notation, this literally means firstly find this expression, but instead of fy it will be fy squared, and we have it. Ex squared is simply the same thing. Instead of y it will be squared over n, and the mean we already have, be fy over n. Then you just square root. So quite straightforward. Always use this relationship, it's so much easier because it's the same expression, and then you just square the mean. So what do we have? So it would just be, it's a long one. So in your calculation, it would be 226 and then 687.5 over n, which is 90, minus the mean. So it would just be your answer squared. So the mean as a fraction was actually 440, well, let's just keep the whole thing, 90 squared. Sometimes it's better to have exact answers. So do that in a calculator and you should get something decent. I'm going to quickly calculate, yeah? 687.5 over 90 minus squared. Yeah, and my standard deviation was, let's see, 10.33 pounds, 10.34, go round it up obviously, 10.34 pounds. So that is the spread. Actually, one more note. For some reason, I rounded the mean to 3 single figures. Just keep it as 11. I think that's the best answer. Just keep it into 2 decimal places, not 3 single figures. Anyway, that's all, guys. Okay, here we go. Part E and F. So, describe, given a reason, the skewness in relationship to a given mean and median. So, have a look at both these values. We can instantly say that the mean is roughly equal to the median. What does this mean? If you got the center, the mean, which is all of the values, and the median, which is the absolute middle of all the population, and they're about the same, this means that you're looking at a symmetrical data set. So just think of it like this. Let's just do a data set like this. This is the median of the whole data set, and it's also the mean. This means that the amount of values from both sides are going to be identical. So they're both the same. So this is, we just imply that it's symmetrical. Because of this, we can instantly use something known as the normal distribution. Because again, this is also symmetrical about the mean. And that's it. So we can pretty much say that the mean is roughly equal to the median, so therefore it's symmetrical. That is the skewness of the data. As for part F, let's have a read. So it states that Rika suggests that the cost of office space in London can be modeled by a normal distribution with mean 50 in standard deviation. With reference to the answer in part E, comment on Rika's suggestion. So like I said earlier, a normal distribution is symmetrical, yeah? So this is symmetrical. And because of this one, it's always balanced on both sides. So again, but thankfully the mean is also centered in the middle. So hence, all you have to say that is, because it's symmetrical, a normal distribution is a totally valid choice. And that's it. Okay, here we go. Normal distribution. So Rika suggests that the cost of office space in London can be modeled by normal distribution with mean 50 and standard deviation 10. So first things first, always say that X is normally distributed with a mean of 50 and a standard deviation of 10 or variance of 10 squared. Okay, that's how we always write this down. So it's always in the format of mu and sigma squared, where mu is the mean, sigma is the standard deviation. Alright, we're going to ignore F because we've done it previously in a different video or earlier. So use Rika's model to estimate the 80th percentile of the cost of office space in London. So what this actually means, the 80th percentile. This is telling us that all the data up to 80%, up to a certain value was 80%. In terms of normal distribution, this is the function at some 80th percentile, and it must have equaled 80%. That's how we begin it. This is actually a cumulative frequency and can also be written as the probability of X less than or equal P, which equals 80%. The key idea here is to simply look at the table for the 80% value and then simply just match it with the inside of this. But to do this first, let's rewrite this as the correct normal distribution format. So this would be probability that Z is less than or equal than P minus the mean, which is 50, over the standard deviation, which is 10. And again, this equals 80%. And the value inside the table, which corresponds to 80%, the Z value is equivalent to that. So let's have a look at the Z value, the table, and find the 80% mark. So according to this table, we have to find where it's 80%, or in this case, we need to find 0.800, or the closest. So the closest one I can see, it's around here. You won't find it, but it's super close. This seems to be the closest value, 0.7995, and that corresponds to the Z value of 0.84. So 0.84, that cross-references. So going back to the table, so this means this equals to roughly 0.84-ish. It's kind of hard to get because it's very tight. So then we just say, therefore, all of that value, P minus 50 over 10, must equal 0.84. Then you just solve it. Times 10 across, and then add 50, and you should get about So about 50. So, yep. So 58 pound 40-ish. 3 significant figures, yeah, because that's all we can do. And that's it. So this represents the 80th percentile. So this is ahead of the mean, yeah. So it makes sense. If this was on a bell curve, if the mean here is 50, the 80th percentile, and this is also bang in the center because it's according to the model we saw before. The median for this case is also the mean. This was in reference to part F, and the percentile is around here 58.4. And this looks like, I don't know about you, but this looks like an 80% mark. And this is probably just a little 20%, which is values greater than, yeah. So up to here, up to 80%, this manages up to 80% would be 58.4. And that's it. That's all we need to know from here. If you've got any questions about how to deduce for any other problems, always first write the function of p. So this is the cumulative function up to the percentile. That's equivalent to x less than equal p. And then you just work your magic and you should be done. Anyway, guys, see you. And that's it for question 2. And if you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.